Well, Punariman Feintola, a RISE correspondent, will be giving us labor protest updates from Abuja. If you can hear me, Punariman. We do know that all eyes are on the government's response to the impending, to the mass protest that is happening right now. And the entire nation is actually waiting to see how the situation will unfold. Can you bring us up to date? What exactly is happening? And has the presentation of the demands, or the official presentation of the demands, happened already?
Okay, so remember earlier the protest started from Unity Fountain in the nation's capital in Abuja, after which the protesters moved to the Ministry of Justice, where the NLC president was able to address the protesters, stating all their demands and saying that they are not backing down until government, meet up to their demands. And the protest continued until we got to the National Assembly. Getting to the National Assembly was a bit difficult because the gate was locked. But the protesters tried to speak to security men to see whether they can get them access into the National Assembly. Well, all their efforts was fruitless until the protesters forced their way into the National Assembly. And a lot of them came in from different entrances into the National Assembly. And I also say they have taken over the National Assembly. Right here, behind me, you will see the NLC president, some of the NLC leaders. They are upstage. You can see them standing there. And then now some senators are already here to address them. Senator Ndume is here, and then Iretikin Kibe, the senator representing the FCT, is also here. And of course, the NLC president says that he has a letter to present to the lawmakers. Obviously, he will do that, and after which we will get to hear from the lawmakers what they have to say. But the protest is still ongoing, and these protesters, which are the NLC body and the TUC, they are saying that they are not backing down until the government of the day meets all their demands.
He can be a nice president and that is why his voice sounded like one struggling for oxygen.
Lawmakers. Do you have any idea of what the content of that letter is?
Comrades, with us here,
for now, we can't say exactly what the content of the letter is, but of course, it's not far from the issues that has always been on ground, which is their grievances over how Nigerians are suffering after the removal of fuel subsidy. And of course, you know that when the subsidy was removed, the NLC are not against it, but what they are saying is there should be palliatives on ground before the subsidy removal. Although the president has given different proposals, one is the giving of 8,000 naira to families, but they are still saying that no, even though the government has also withdrew that proposal. But there are so many things that the NLC management or leadership are saying. One is that Nigerians are suffering, and the increase in fuel prices is becoming, unbearable on Nigerians, because we see a lot of Nigerians trekking to work because they cannot afford, the current transport fare. It has gone triple. So these are some of the things that the NLC are saying, and they are saying they are not backing down until the government meets some of these demands.
Punariman, based on what you've observed so far, would you say that it's been largely a peaceful demonstration that you've seen?
The protest is very, very peaceful. In fact, I was shocked when the protesters broke into the National Assembly and the security men were just watching them. Nobody was hurt. There was no tear gas. There was no gunshots. There was nothing whatsoever. everybody is moving on smoothly without any issue.
All right, then.
The
Thank
protest
you.
so far, I'll say, is peaceful.
Thank you so much, Rise correspondent there, Punarinam, reporting live from the National Assembly at Abuja. But still on the nationwide strike promised by labor unions under the auspices of the Nigerian Labour Congress, which has, of course, kicked off in different parts of the country. And at the moment, reports filtering through Arise correspondents, like you just seen from Punarinam in Abuja, about peaceful rallies called by the state's chapters of the Congress. But here in Lagos, a senior correspondent, Adeoye, has been keeping an eye on events around the state secretariat in Ikeja, the state capital, and now joins us for a live update. Now, thank you so much for being here, Oba. Let's go straight into it. Now, we're just talking to Punarinam in Abuja, and she said that even though members of the protest had broken into the National Assembly from, different, entry points, we're seeing a very calm and mellow response from security agencies. What is the protest? What does it feel like right now? Is it peaceful, or are we seeing non-peaceful protest at the moment?
The protest in Lagos was very peaceful. I started with the protesters right from under the bridge in Ikeja, very close to the popular computer village, and we trekked down to Alausa here, the seat of power. It's been very, very peaceful. And here in Alausa, they gathered in front of the State House of Assembly, where the Deputy Governor, Mr. Obafemi Kadri Hamzat, came to address them and give them assurances that the government is listening to them. So just a moment ago, some of the protesters already dispersed, already left this scene, and a detachment of the Rapid Response Squad, that's a department of the police in Lagos, also left some minutes back. I have one of the labor union leaders here with me, and she's going to tell us more about the protest some moment back. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So you tell us your name and your role in this struggle.
My name is Comrade Fumisesi. I'm the chairperson of Nigeria Labour Congress, Lagos State Council.
Okay, tell us what specifically do you want? Some days back, Mr. President announced the rollout of some palliatives and also assured the labor union of a review, upward review of your salary. The same thing happened in Lagos, I think on Tuesday or Monday or thereabout. But what exactly does the organized labor want?
Yeah, the organized labor want a timeline to all the things that the president has rolled out. He said he's going to increase the minimum wage. The organized labor want a timeline to that. When? And when are they going to wrap up all the dialogue that is currently ongoing? That time is of essence, because Nigeria are being pushed into more abject poverty on a daily basis. We need to remedy the situation. The people that are hungry, they are hungry. And then he who that is down need fear no fall. So the federal government should, as a matter of urgency, take a very proactive step to address the issue of palliative of subsidy removal, so that things that Nigerians were able to do before, that they are now unable to do it. Feeding, many people are unable to eat 3 square meal in their homes. It's now 010. Many people are unable to even be able to move by means of transportation. Many people now trek to their destinations. So the situation that we have on ground, and the president is telling us that we should, be patient. Our leaders at the National Assembly, are they patient? They have already allocated 70 billion, 40 billion, 35 billion, this billion. Let them also be patient. Let all of us be in it together. It is when we are all there, let them lead by leadership. Let them provide good leadership example. When all of us are in it together, then we will know that Nigeria is indeed bleeding. And all of us, we are ready to sacrifice. But they should also start that sacrifice on their part. What they have done is that they have not allocated anything to the workers, anything to Nigerians, both in the informal sector and formal. Informal sector, pepper seller, bricklayer, all the people that are even trying to make ends meet, they are in the informal sector. And those in the formal sector, both in the private and in the public sector, government should provide leadership. and they should look for ways in which they will ameliorate this current situation.
But the Deputy Governor of Lagos State just gave you some assurances a moment ago.
That assurances is that we also localize our own issues. Since we submitted letter to be transmitted to the presidency, we also localize in Lagos is a city life, and we also need to live like city people, city workers. So our life too, we are facing some hardships in Lagos. It's a general problem, it's a general issue, since it's a generalized problem. So we are all in it together, and we need the government of Lagos State to also bring some palliative. Yes, he has announced that they will reduce the price of transportation, government buses, BRT, by 50%, the other yellow one by 25%. But we need more of the subsidy and palliatives.
Thank you so very much, Ma. Thank you. So I'll speak with another Labour leader who is also here with us at in Alausa here in Ikeja. Tell me your name and your role in this struggle.
I'm Comrade Ismail Bello, Deputy General Secretary, Nigerian Labour Congress. I came all the way from Abuja with our colleagues, the Deputy President and the Auditor, to give support to the protest here in Lagos. And it's been very massive. We must sincerely thank all our affiliates in Lagos and our civil society allies, because it was a very great opportunity for Nigerians to really vent out how these twin policies have actually negatively impacted their lives. You can see the streets of Lagos a bit quiet, vehicular movement very low, which shows that it's very difficult for people to commute from home to work. A lot of people complain about feeding. It's difficult to even have a meal a day. It's pretty difficult. It would take an average of about 3,000, 4,000 a day to move to any part of Lagos to get to work. And so for workers on 30,000 minimum, it is practically impossible to get to work for more than 2, 3, 4 days. So that's where we are. And that's why the NSA had engaged at the national level, the Tinubu administration. And fortunately on June 5, we thought we have an inkling of hope when an agreement was reached. The government was going to look at wage review. Wage review is not just minimum wage. Minimum wage is a statutory matter. Minimum wage is something that has to be done when the time is due. But we're in a crisis situation. Government needs to have something like a transport palliative, a transport subsidy that is immediate for every worker, because it's difficult for them to get to work. The other argument, the other segment of that is that mass transportation is very key, and Labour is arguing that given the present cost of fuel, it's not possible to power ourselves and transport ourselves. That CNG would be a good alternative, and government should explore that. Among other things, that policies of government cannot be cast in iron. When government comes up with policies that impact negatively on people, government will be able to sit and review its policies in a manner that benefits our people.
So for how long is this mass protest going to last?
We are using this to send a message to government, and we are hopeful that this government will listen. That this government will listen not to the IMF and the World Bank, but this government will listen to the Nigerian people who are the victims of these neoliberal policies. So if government retraces its steps very quickly and get into engagement with Labour, and we're able to see fruitful outcome of this engagement, fine. If you are not able to, so I'm sure that as a democratic organization, we will continue to have internal conversation.
Does it mean that we are going to see another protest tomorrow?
We'll take the next step democratically inside our organization.
All right, thank you so very much. So you listen to the Labour union leaders there. They are waiting for the government to act on the demands that have been placed on the table before them. Any failure to act in accordance to the expectations of the organized Labour may lead to a continuation of the public protests, according to the two union leaders that you listen to. So we are still here in Alausa. We still have some members of the organized Labour around, while the majority of them had already left the protest scene. Even the policemen left the protest scene some moments back. Back to you in the studio.
Well, Oba, thank you so much. It does sound like, from what we heard from Fumi Sesi and Comrade Ismail Bello, they're both talking about timeliness and that this could go on much longer depending on the response of the government. But I'd like to take you up on what was stated by Comrade Ismail in terms of massive turnout. There was some feedback that I saw before coming into studio that it wasn't what was anticipated in terms of the turnout of those who came out to protest. Is what he said accurate based on what you observed?
I don't know how to define massive, but when I joined them very early this morning under the bridge in Ikeja, the population of protesters that came out was nothing compared to the population of protesters that got to the secretariat in Alausa, Ikeja. On our way coming, we had even members of the public who are not members of the organized labor joined the rally from Ikeja to Alausa here. And I don't know who want to measure massive, but I can tell you that this morning when they converged on Ikeja under bridge, people were going out about their normal activities. There was nothing like a breakdown of order or, stoppage of movement. People moved on like a normal day in Lagos before the protest. But when we got to the popular Allen roundabout, it was a different case entirely. The place was practically deserted. And at that point in time, we had more crowd. We had a larger crowd of people joined the rally at that point in time. By the time we got to Coca-Cola Junction here in Alausa, it was much more bigger, and the labor leaders had to bring everybody together to form one unit and move a mass to Alausa. When we got to Alausa here moments ago, the crowd was also bigger than what we saw at the Coca-Cola Junction. So I don't know how you measure massive. I don't know how whoever wants to measure massive. I don't know the number of people that were expected to join the crowd or the protest, but I cannot also tell you the number of people that eventually joined. But what I saw this morning was a large crowd of people, and the crowd was growing incrementally right from Ikeja up to the point we got to Alausa. And at the time we got to Alausa, we had already met some people waiting, to join the crowd that was coming from Ikeja. So I think it's relative. It depends on how whoever wants to measure it. If you want to compare it with previous labor protests in the state before now, you will say that the crowd is not up to what it used to be. Fine. But if you want to measure, what you have here today, I think relatively it's a good turnout. It's a good showing of the labor. You remember that this is the first day of the protest. It is not always massive. From experience, protests are not always massive on the first day in Nigeria. But as it progresses, perhaps people who are, were not sure of whether they were going to join the protest may eventually make up their mind to join the protest, because that is the nature of Nigerians, an average Nigerian. You want to see what others are doing before you make your decision whether you are to join them or not to join them. Let's see whether the protest will continue tomorrow. If it does tomorrow, they will be able to conveniently measure the turnout of people today with the turnout of people tomorrow. Then we can say whether it is massive or not massive.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Arai, senior correspondent, coming to us live from the State Secretariat there in Ikeja. Now we're going to cross back to Abuja, where the NLC president, Adeoye, is addressing the crowd.
To boss Mustafa. Never will you bring a chief of staff to the president who is very busy to come and negotiate with labor. He doesn't have time because of state matters. Nigerians should look at this and because if you don't bring this matter here, you will be seeing us as troublemakers. That is not the case. Things are not happening. We need to bring it to the fore. We actually ask for us to look at putting a stop to all inhuman actions and policies of the government. Mr. President talked about 1 trillion naira saved. The committee where we are meeting, they told us that no one kobo is saved. We have not agreed on what to pay anywhere. So who do we believe? Is it the committee? Is it Mr. President? We are going to believe Mr. President. So that 1 trillion, we need to look at it, what we are going to do with it. But this inconsistency in pronouncements is not the best for us. We have actually looked at the issue of refineries. Young men in the Niger Delta are refining, and we have said, let us license them. They call them illegal refineries. We say no, let us legalize the illegality.
Yes.
Let us form a group, register them, license them, and get a standard organization to monitor the product that is coming down there. Refining is not a rocket science. We can do it here, but people are frustrating it. Comrades, on and on and on. We may even seek further discussion with the Senate. But in the event of what is happening now, we need to bring this to the attention of the National Assembly, the attention of the Senate, because various efforts were made for us not to equally come and tell you what is happening, for us not to tell Nigerians what is happening. Oh, thank God we are here. But I think we should not be provoked beyond this. The country is ours. It belongs to all of us, and every Nigerian should enjoy the dividend of democracy. Thank you very much. Solidarity forever. Solidarity. Solidarity. When I remember 70 billion, water run away my eyes. Oh, aye, aye, water run away my eyes. When I remember 40 billion, water run away my eyes. Oh, aye, aye, water run away my eyes. When I remember operational vehicles, water run away my eyes. Oh, aye. Water run away, I run away, I run away, my eyes, oh, aye, aye, water run away, my eyes. Distinguished Senator, the President of our Congress, just one addition to what the President of the NLC just said. And it is about the reduction of the cost of governance. We strongly believe that the government of today is quite insensitive. And that government is both the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. You are right. We believe strongly. We cannot ask Nigerians to keep tightening our belts. You cannot ask Nigerians to keep sacrificing. You cannot ask a man who barely have 1 meal a day to now be eating gari for that day. The Nigerian masses have been battered. The Nigerian masses have suffered. The Nigerian masses are passing through excruciating difficulties. But in all of these, we have not heard what the president of the country has said regarding the cost of governance. We have not, now, we are screening ministers. These ministers will go back, they will have 10 aides. Those their 10 aides are going to have senior assistants. The assistants will now have a PA to the senior assistant to the minister's aide. Before you know, the numbers will go outside the roof. It is at this time when Senate and House of Reps, whether it was in the Appropriation Act before now, whether it was in the supplementary bill, we think grossly that it is grossly insensitive for us to be musing to spend 70 billion. We heard that they want to use it to fill their offices. We have told them to pay a visit to the secretariat, it is not here, and see how people are suffering. To go to the secretariat and see that people work without light for months. To see that in the secretariat, to even go to toilet, everywhere is smelling. So we are all equal Nigerians. We have equal stake in Project Nigeria. We want you in National Assembly to show sacrifice. We want you in National Assembly to cut down your budget. We want you in National Assembly to go and buy Innocy motors. We don't want you to go and buy Toyota, to go and buy imported vehicles, because you are creating jobs over there and you are importing suffering here. There is nothing wrong in using Innocy motors or locally assembled vehicles in Nigeria. You must show leadership. You must lead from the front, because we are elected to work for us. We know also that yes, the condition with which you work is also important. We are not insensitive, but all we are saying is that you must sacrifice. Yes. If you don't have television in your office, you can use your phone in watching television. Yes. If you cannot have AC in your office, you can use fan. Because there are a lot of Nigerians who doesn't even have fan, who doesn't even have light. So please, you must show leadership from the front and pass this please to the Senate President and to the Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives that you must show sacrifice.